This conference will now be recorded.
8:30. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. We're here at the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting, Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. We have an agenda in front of us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Jim made a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Pam, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Number 2, approve the minutes of January 14th meetings.
Can I make one comment?
Yes, you may.
So the auditors recommended it's not in there yet, in the code, I guess you'd say. But to have the claims published in the minutes that it was approved at that board meeting. So that will just look a little bit different than publishing it then.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 14th meetings.
Mark made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Todd seconded. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Mark?
Aye.
Pam?
Aye.
Sydney?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 3, county attorney and general discussion.
I don't have anything specific today. Last couple of weeks been pretty heavy on criminal stuff, so that's kind of where my mind has been. But anybody has any questions or anything, let me know.
Any questions for county attorney?
I think I'm still pretty well dialed in on, what's going on, even though I maybe focus on this or that at different times.
All right. Thank you. Number 4, sheriff, not here. Department head discussion?
Had the seminary meal program get hold of me, and they want to come to one of our meetings and chat with us. Anytime the board would like to have that happen,
Put it on next week.
okay, I'll get back with them and tell them next week.
Sounds good.
It's interesting. Did any of you get a call from Northeast Iowa Food Bank?
Nope.
So I got a call last Friday. He wanted to come to today's meeting, get put on today's agenda, but I didn't get it until yesterday. But I talked with Renee upstairs to ask her if she knew anything about Northeast Iowa Food Bank. I Googled it, and obviously it's legit and everything. And she found in 2015 and before that we may have purchased items for the county care facility from Northeast Iowa. And when you Google it, Mitchell County is on there. So I'd like to get back to him, the same thing, do we want, being we are on their, we're one of their counties they service. If you guys would be okay with to have them come and talk to us, and our budget's kind of. So I'll call them, Rachel, and then I'll let you know when to put them on, so. Do you recall ever you have seen them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll get a hold of him and then put him on the agenda.
All right, thanks, Todd. Don't see anything online and nobody's in the chairs. Number 6, county engineer update.
Not much to update, but I did get a phone call yesterday from the Service Bureau Grant Committee people, and we have 2 bridges available for the CHBP grant. Again, the same program we had when we tied our projects with, one project with Worth County. It was our bridge on Balsam South 390 at the corner there. That was we've got 2 bridges now that we're gonna submit for the same program, and they're gonna bundle our 2 bridges together, so we don't have to worry about combining our bridge with another county and trying to let that stuff together, so we'll be submitting our documentation and stuff today or tomorrow. But the bridges are, one's on 430th, just east of Quail, so they're 37, I think it's a 37-foot bridge. We had just done some piling repair on it to keep it open, and it qualifies for this program. We don't know if we'll get the grant or not, but we're gonna submit that bridge. And the second bridge is on 480th east of Otranto. That bridge was built in '84, but the piling are in tough shape there. They're steel piling, it's a quad T bridge. So we're gonna submit those 2 for this program and we'll see what happens. But the goal is to have those bridges let before July of 2027. Both bridges now are in the program, but they're not the same year. So I'll have to mix some things around to make sure that the bigger thing is they want to make sure we've got the money in our bridge funds to cover that. They're hoping it's 80-20 split where we pay for 20% of the cost. We just got to budget to make sure we've got the money in our bridge funding for those in 2027 now. Problem is, we don't know that we're going to get them. I had one of these bridges was going to be built in 26, but I'll push it back, bring another one up, the other one up from 29 to 27 to get them put in this program. But it's always a shell game trying to move things around to get them in. But we'll see what the grant allows us. There's going to be 30 bridges and 2 of them are ours. So let's hope we get that grant, we get those repaired or replaced, I guess. So
Is it something that we have to, we have to pay money whether we get it or not?
yeah, we'll have a share, we'll have a portion, it'll be a per bridge cost for the grant application, okay, like we did in the past. So we don't know what those dollars are yet.
Who's the lead county?
I don't know that either yet. But I think HDR is the consultant firm that the DOT is hired to do that. We'll pay. I think the DOT has some bridges in it too, but ours, right now, there's 30 other bridges, okay? Well, 28 bridges. So
What was that street address on Quail?
it's 430th just east of Quail. I think that'd be done by Joe Hanks.
Or is it by Hankey's?
Hanky is what I meant.
Hankey, yeah. Okay, that little one?
Yep.
Yeah.
We just did some welding on it, just to keep it up.
Mhm.
That's all I've got for you this morning.
Thank you. Any other questions for the county engineer? Are they coming? Are they online?
Online. Is there Jason?
See a no name. Discussion about GFC evaluate for phones. Anyone online?
A couple blank ones, but.
Oh, right. We'll skip that one now.
Sue, have you already done department head?
Yeah, you want to do department head?
Yeah.
Go back to department head.
Better write it down because God knows I would forget everything. So during some of the Recorders District 2 meetings, many of the others have spoken about their courthouse employees doing different events for all of the departments to participate in. Like they've done potlucks, contests, and parties, just as like morale boosters. They've been organized with zero cost to the county. Everyone pays for their own individual participation. Floyd County has even created their own association to collect funds and pay for such events with no cost to the county itself. But they have a snack and beverage station, so that's how they collect funds to pay for stuff. And I don't think our courthouse is big enough to sustain something like that. I don't think we need an association either. But I think something needs to be done to increase our morale around here. Individual departments are fine, but the interdepartmental interactions are minimal. While it is difficult to get outside departments to join us at the courthouse, they would always be welcome to join us. I would like to bring back Christmas parties for staff and spouses to attend after hours at an outside or public location. I'd also like to start planning some friendly competition events like pumpkin decorating contests at Halloween, or like the Iowa State gang dress-up days with, like everybody puts in so much money and then whoever at the end, they win the pot or they split the pot. It'd just be nice to have some fundraising events like can drives for the food bank or collecting empty cans for conservation. I'm more than happy to plan these events and would welcome anyone else wanting to help plan things. Of course, participation would not be mandatory. It's just something for fun to create a sense of community versus competition. And we all work for the same county. We all work for the public. It would just be nice if there was something fun to do around here. That's all.
Just wanted to get the consensus of the board, if you guys are okay with this, to start doing some little, like, Valentine box decorating and just fun stuff like pot of gold decorating, just fun stuff like that in the hallway. We can let the public vote on it or whatever. Just-
In Worth County, we call it grazing day in the courthouse, where people will bring something to eat that goes down into they don't have much of a break room, so it's down in the boardroom, but everybody brings something to share. Not that everybody sits and convenes down there, but it's just something to bring some,
Right.
bring
It
snacks.
also just like create opportunities to.
And it's usually around a holiday or something, where it's just, when you got time to break away, when you have a break, you go down there and just snack on something, and it's, not everybody's always together down there, but it's.
We thought maybe like the table where the Christmas tree, with the Christmas tree usually is, we could put a table there and just let the public, with the competitions, we could have food places like they do in Worth County. That sounds.
So like anybody, home health,
Yeah.
conservation, secondary roads,
Mhm.
anyone can come in.
Like I said, it's hard to get those outside departments to join us, but they're absolutely always welcome. The more the merrier, the more fun, honestly.
I think it's a great idea.
I absolutely think it's a great idea. When we're all getting together, looking at funding, things can get pretty dreary sometimes.
Yes, I agree.
And so I really appreciate the fact that you're willing to kind of spearhead that a little bit. And,
And when's the last time we had a Christmas party? Like, I'm not saying the wellness party, I mean, like, I think COVID was when they quit doing it, wasn't it? It used to be out.
I was wondering why we didn't have Thanksgiving meal this year.
we quit all the fun during COVID.
I know.
So it's
You know,
good to bring
I
it
think
up.
it's time to start it up again.
It's time.
But anyway, that was all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Still no Jason, is that a thing? We'll go back to number 8, set public hearing for fiscal year 25 budget amendment.
So, a couple of departments, couple items to amend for public health for their emergency preparedness, and then a couple of revenue for them as well, and revenue line items for Shannon for those adjustments made to the fees. I think it was auto fees that they were doing. But we can get it sent to the papers today, which means it can get in the papers next week. We can have it February 11th at 9 a.m.
Okay, is there a motion for February 11th, 2025, public hearing for fiscal year 25 budget amendment at 9 a.m.?
I'll move to make that motion.
Todd made a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Mark, second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Todd,
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Pam.
Aye.
Mark.
Motion passes. Number 9, approve resolution to set temporary precinct election official rates. Resolution number 1255-25.
So talking with the auditor some, you guys had approved upping the precinct officials' wage from $10 to 15 hours for this fiscal year, back when we did the budget last year. They did say whenever we do bump any of that up, we need to do it by resolution too. So on here it just says that it's retroactive to July 1st of 2024. And then it says that the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors approved $15 per hour for precinct election officials in the fiscal year 25 budget. This is just to formally adopt the policy.
All right, is there a motion to approve resolution 1255-25?
I move to approve resolution 1255-25 to set temporary precinct election official rate retroactive to July 21st of 24.
Okay, I made a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Jim, second. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Pam.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve GASB 87 resolution 1256-25.
So this is another item from the auditors upstairs. We have passed this Gatsby, I don't remember if it was 2 years, I think it's 2023. And we got that from our auditors at the time, and they had us use assets at $5,000 or above must be reported. These guys recommend doing 50,000 because most people don't care about your copier leases. So this would update it to the 50,000 and it's retroactive to the first of 2023. That's what they recommend. So,
Okay,
Make a motion for resolution 1256-25.
Mark made a motion, is there a second?
I second it.
Pam, second. Any further discussion?
roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Pam.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve GASB 96 resolution 1257-25.
So this is another Gatsby report, subscription-based information technology agreement policy. This was supposed to be put in place and it never was, and the previous auditors never said anything. This is a sample resolution from the auditors, and the all right to use subscription assets at or above $100,000 must be reported.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 1257-25?
Move to approve resolution 1257-25.
Jim made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Todd, second. Any further discussion?
Did they happen to say why the various difference between 100,000 on one and 50,000 on the other?
I didn't ask.
Okay.
I would guess just with the different IT stuff, you can probably get closer to 50,000 minimal work, but the more, I don't know for sure. I just use what they recommend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the only question I have.
Roll call, Pam.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Items of note, meetings attended.
I went to the ISAC conference last week, and then I also had a North Iowa Juvenile Detention meeting. A lot going on within the state in regards to all this and that. So where do I start? Managed care organizations are what are kind of the middle people in regards to paying these organizations. And just a couple months ago, maybe 2 or 3, they owed North Iowa Juvenile Detention $400,000 of payments that they hadn't sent them. NIG, North Iowa has been working to try to get that resolved. They're down to 35,000, so they've worked hard to get the money that is owed to them. Another topic is behavioral health service system alignment. That's another thing in regards to what the state is changing, and this is something that's going to be coming up, and we will be new, and there will be proposed added funding to a proposed behavioral health safety net provider. They're not sure of the geographical locations of these, but this is something that will be actually added revenue for North Iowa Juvenile if they were to be awarded it. and it's something where judges will, a lot of times assign we'll say a client to have an assessment done so that they know just what's going on with the individual. So North Iowa wants to be one of these facilities that can do that. Another thing is in regards to funding the juvenile detention facilities in the state. There's 9 of them in the state, and the state reimburses them 17% of what their expenses are. But it does seem to be a little lopsided because, for instance, Polk receives $1.5 million in reimbursement, and North Iowa receives $177,000. And what they're saying is there needs to be some changes made to that. Using Polk as an example, the way the state funds it is they fund it on the expenses that are being incurred by the juvenile detention facility. And Polk has 65 beds, but they only staff for servicing 35 of those beds. So their facility is a 65 bed facility, but they're only taking care of 35 beds. And North Iowa says, I would like some of those beds. If you're not using them, but you're showing those as an expense and being paid for those, we could use those beds. The state has determined that there's only 272 beds in the state. That's all their funding for all of these 9 facilities. So North Iowa says we need to have a little realignment here in regards to how the state is funding everybody. And Polk is a good example. You know, you have more expenses compared to the amount of people you're actually taking care of. So that's something that's being considered. One is to do it by do a reimbursement, give state money for the amount of beds that you are actually taking care of. Or another one was to have a minimum of $300,000. I mean, so if they wanted to fund it similarly with what they're doing, but have it as a minimum of $300,000. So at least each facility is getting $300,000. So those are some of the things that are kind of trying to be shaken out with those facilities. Last thing having to do with that, back to the behavioral health service system alignment. Chapter 25 is what kind of takes care of all of that stuff, and that's going to be replaced with in the new Iowa code, which is 300, and that's going to explain the system. I forgot to mention that, but anyway, there's a lot of changes going on and a lot of uncertainties. That's all I had.
I went to the supervisors meeting, learned a lot about it. I think they could have spent a whole day on open meeting laws because that was a hot topic. I wrote down so much. Rachel, we don't actually have to post on the website. So that one time that we questioned it, they said actually that does not have to be done. So as long as you have it on your board or visible for people to see 24 hours in the courthouse, that is okay. But adding the website was just an extra perk. So that was good to know. There's so much information. I could talk about all of it.
Go ahead.
No. Oh, I wish they would do a whole day on open meeting laws because that would be wonderful. And just learning about what other counties do and working with engineers and county attorneys and sheriffs, that was just a really good seminar. So I'm so glad I was able to make it.
I too was fortunate enough to attend the ISAC supervisor training session and came away with a whole lot of information. It was great to network with some folks from other counties. You had the opportunity to visit with auditors or supervisors or some county sheriffs. They did some breakout sessions where they had information from other supervisors. They talked about contracting. They talked about how to effectively work with your sheriff's department and your those authorities so that your county is well protected. And certainly working with engineers, some of the projects that other counties have, some of the challenges they have with roads and bridges and restructuring thing. They had a hot topic session at the end, and, you know, I think I kind of came away with, they put it best that the biggest challenge of the Board of Supervisors today is balancing the growth of our county's social services and services as a whole, and with a combination of property tax restrictions from House File 718 and Senate File 2442. One of the last little tidbits they dropped at the end of the day was that we need to keep a close eye on legislation coming forth in the weeks ahead, because they're seeing some potential cuts. And so we need to be aware of that so that we can kind of ward off any last minute updates to our budgets. So I too learned an awful lot.
I had a county social service HR meeting, and the only thing they changed was the mileage rate, because June 30th, they're all unemployed, I guess. So, and then they reviewed the holiday, and then they talked about the new supervisors coming on board after the election. That's it.
I had a FMC DCAT meeting. Went over the financials. Interesting that FY '24, we have some carryovers that they were approved, that we can spend so much 2025, 2026, 2027 to carry over. So our question was, are we still in good shape through 2027 with the legislature? But we'll see what happens when we get there. We had a few changes in the bylaws. We did go ahead and elect board chair and board vice chair. We had a gentleman who came online, was gonna give us a realignment overview, and he said there isn't anything right now. So, and then our community planning, we have given the libraries some little extra money for movie nights, book days, things like that. So that was it.
All right, thank you. We will now go back to number 7, discussion about GFC evaluate phone system. Hello,
Hello,
welcome.
thank you. So I'm Jason, this is Tim. First off, we apologize. The cold did not let my car start first thing this morning, so that was a whole ordeal and all of that. So I planned to have freshly printed copies and all of this for you guys, but it was a scramble just to get here, right? So hopefully we do, or I do have it pulled up on my computer as well. So if you guys have, like, if I can project onto that screen, maybe, if that's a quick setup.
Project onto that screen.
Either way.
Yeah.
If you'd like me to do that, or if everybody has copies, that's fantastic. Whatever works best. And again, a million apologies.
You can come up here.
Yep, I can do that. Perfect. Rachel will attest, I'm usually much more prepared. But the cold just put the kibosh on me this morning. Which is also a first life experience for me. I've never had a car not start because of the cold. But the work farm sits outside exposed to the elements. I live right alongside the river, so the wind just whips. Yep, it kiboshed me this morning, so this is perfect.
You're fine.
Yeah, this is perfect. This is great.
The lights are right around the corner. What are you looking for?
Remote.
Oh, he's got it. It's coming. But if you maybe want to hit the first lights, but
You know, like this.
a second. Yeah.
There we go. Oh, perfect. There we go. Okay. All right. So I'll just kind of breeze through the first few pages here. If you guys have any questions about features or functionalities, just let me know, right? At the end of the day, the cloud-based system that we offer is essentially a blank slate, right? It can do whatever you want it to do. The most important thing is that we, as Gordon Flesh Company, understand fully what it is that you want your phone system to do so that we implement it correctly and make those appropriate changes and so on and so forth. So these first few pages, folks, just kind of go over all the extended features that can come along with this system. We don't necessarily utilize or pay for all of these features, which again is kind of why I'm just going to kind of breeze through a lot of this. I mean, benefits, here we go. Sometimes it's lower cost, sometimes it's not, depending on the situation that you're currently in. We've saved people money, we've doubled people's phone bills, right? It just depends. The reliability is a big factor. 99.39s after that 9, financially backed up reliability time from Intermedia, who's actually that's our partner. So the way this worked for us, folks, is it happened very organically, if this story hasn't been told to everybody. We needed a new phone system at Gordon Flesh Company. We vetted a few, and we went with the Ring Central, right? And I think at the time, we were just a little bit too big for their bandwidth or what have you, because we experienced issues upon issues upon issues. So we had to dump that one and do some more vetting, right? And kind of go with the bigger cloud-based providers locally here in the country, right? So we landed on Intermedia. They were never a VoIP provider or an analog provider. That's the big challenge with going to the cloud, is moving all of that stuff that's on servers and things of that nature and making that transition into the cloud. These guys actually started off in the cloud. They were never an old analog phone company. So they're the biggest, largest provider of cloud-based phone systems in the country. We started off with them, Tim, help me, 2020?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So use them for a year, 18 months or so, and we loved it, right? I love it. I use it every day. So then we as a company went to Intermedia and said, you guys have dealer channels. How does this work? Are we able to sell the product? Because we've been selling phones for a long time, but it's time for us to make that move into the cloud. They do. So that's how it happened for us, right? We actually used this product for the better part of 2 years before we even started pitching it and selling it. Then we adopted it as our own, trained all of our internal phone people about how this one works for installs and, the back end and all of that stuff. And now 99% of your service provided is by Gordon Flesh Company. It's only your, tier 3 and tier 4 programming stuff that we have to reach out to Intermedia, say, hey, we need a little bit of help with this question or whatever the case may be. So you're not calling other people, you're not calling across the pond, right? All of your support is provided by us locally. I like to tell that story because it's a big deal, right? We used it for a long time before we even started selling it.
So you were a phone company and you went out looking for a phone company to?
So we have, right, sounds kind of strange, right? We bought Schmidt Telecom, which was an Avaya VoIP provider, right, for years. Then Gordon Flesh Company bought us in 2020. The rest of Gordon Flesh Company was not a phone provider. We were as Advanced Systems here in Iowa, right? So this local team, me, Tim, all of us people here in Iowa, we've been selling phones, been in the phone game for a long time. Phones were somewhat new to the rest of GFC when they started adopting and selling the platform. But for us, it was just changing from VoIP to cloud because we've been doing it for years. So just like I talked about the customer service being local, obviously it's just something that most cloud providers just can't provide you. right? You're typically calling third party, you're calling across the pond, having to hit number 3 to even talk to somebody that, speaks the appropriate language that you need to speak.
Is there a limitation on long distance calling?
Nope. Good question. So voicemail, you can do conference calling, obviously. It also comes along with your team chats. Web fax is included. Company messaging, so that's like your Teams platform, right? Where you guys can internal message each other, right? Yep. The contact center is something that's provided for your places that have a contact center, right? For you guys, doesn't really apply. The mobile app, so it is mobile. This can be on at all times, on during hours only when you want it to, and everything in between, right? So like for me, I just have, when people call my office line, I have all of my Elevate platforms ring at the same time, right? So if I'm in the office, my phone rings, my cell phone rings, my computer rings, right? Everything rings. And you can change that depending on what you want it to do, right? If you only want it to ring to your office line certain hours of the day and then go to your cell because you're typically out or whatever the case is, right? And then everything stops ringing and goes straight to voicemail at 5 o'clock, and everything in between, right? So again, it goes back to kind of that blank slate. But it is mobile, one of the big advantages of the Elevate system. And you're not using your cell phone number. You're using your office line, right? And when somebody does call your office line and it rings into your cell, it's a different color scheme. It says Elevate UC at the top, so you know it's not one of your friends calling your cell phone, right? You can change the ringtones, obviously. So it does a very good job of separating church and state. So when your cell phone rings, you know if it's a personal or if it's a work-related phone call.
So can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
When you're talking about the setup of all of those various preferences.
Yep.
Now, and I'm going to step back a little to your customer service experience.
Sure.
So how do you integrate those two things? Is it where you come in and do some group training, or
Yep.
you're doing individual setup?
Good question.
Or are we setting up and then you're supposed to get calls from everybody that's on the system going?
Right. That's such a great question. So we do, in fact, I was actually, so I did one of these installations at Witham Volkswagen just a few weeks ago, and I was so impressed with just what came in the box, right? So we're going to be on site, guys, right?
Okay.
We're going to be on site. We're going to personally install every individual phone at every individual location. Before we do any of that, my team is going to reach out to whoever it is that's provided, probably IT, right? And we're going to get all of the information from your current phone system that we possibly can, right? So literally down to each individual user, what they have for extensions, right? Who their quick extensions are, if they have those set up, however their phone is set up now, we're going to mirror that as much as we can on the new phone before we even bring it to Osage.
Okay.
So then each individual user, the box, literally, they'll be in a big box when we come, and we'll open that big box, and then inside that big box will be individual boxes. Each individual box will be every individual's individual user phone. They'll be labeled by their extension, they'll be labeled by the name of the user that is using them, and then they'll be all pre-programmed for all of the information that we've been able to gather up beforehand, right? We try to make it as much as plug in the phone and it's ready to go, right? And then we train, right? And we're going to train the users on everything that they need to know, right? And then the people that you guys decide who will be the administrators of this system, right? Because there's a lot of things that your IT team, once they've been trained, can do to this system without ever having to call us, right? They can make a lot of changes to this stuff. In fact, most changes to this system without ever having to reach out to us. Typically, the reach out to us is, hey, I forgot how to do this, right? So then, oh, okay, we'll show you how to do that. But you're going to have a lot of capability internally in-house to make those necessary changes if need be, right? And even down to the individual user, right? Because you're all going to have different preferences. you work different hours, you're in different departments, right? So each individual user is going to be able to customize what they want their system to do, right? I only want it to ring to my desk phone. That's it. I don't want it to be mobile. I'm not even going to download the mobile app, right? And everything in between. But we're here hands-on as much as needed. Sometimes it's a little bit overkill.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, and I have references, right? One that we just did. Dealerships are one of your more challenging installations when it comes to pretty much anything tech wise, right? Because they don't care, right? They just want to sell cars, right? So they don't want to give us information. They don't want to answer those calls. They don't want to fill out those forms. They don't want to do any of that stuff, right? And I was actually on site for the installation with them, which was about 3-4 times the size as what your guys will be. 2 dealerships, tons of phones, and they just go so smooth, so smooth. I actually had to call them this morning because my actuator door froze in my car, so I had to call Jake and say, "Hey, this is just from the cold, right?"
So with, issue is with like local or OMU here in town, customers, either them calling us or we calling them, are we getting charged extra, like, to be added to our phone?
I'm sorry.
Casey, you want to talk on that? Or one of our IT guys?
Sure. I'm sorry, Stacy. I don't quite understand the question.
I don't quite understand this text message either.
Hey, Sydney, this is Casey. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Sorry, I was just listening, and I was Mitchell County IT director
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago, and I know at one point the county did try switching over to a cloud-based phone system, and there were issues with local long-distance calling. I can't recall if it was from the courthouse calling local OMU customers or if it was the other way around. But the way the calls were routed, there's really no way to fix it because limitations of how the call is being routed. I don't know if that rings a bell to you, but I know there were some local issues like that we ran into about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. Casey, do you know if it happened to go back to some sort of possibly porting issue at that time?
Port,
That's what it almost sounds like.
there were things that have to be ported. I do remember that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Do you know if they had to build like a bridge because at that time your number couldn't directly be ported or something of that flavor?
So all numbers were ported. It was just the way the long distance calls were being routed. Outside of OMU, it was somewhere through like Nashua or wherever the routing, like Nextiva, there was something. I don't recall exact specifics, but I know there were some big concerns and issues with that. And again, that was 4 or 5 years ago. Just a question, I guess, just to make sure everyone is aware.
Yeah. So Tim, you can take a note on that. It doesn't ring a bell, Casey. I'll get with Brenda and Eric. Because like we've already checked all of your guys' compatibility and portability and all of those things. We do that before we even propose, right? To make sure that, hey, this can actually happen. We didn't see anything that, would have to be rerouted or anything of that nature. Your guys' was just a direct port. So I'll have to ask a question on that, Casey. That just doesn't sound familiar, and I haven't dealt with that.
Okay,
yet.
and I can touch base with Ryan just to make sure he's aware, and he can always possibly reach out to OMU. And again, that was 4 or 5 years ago, so that issue may not even be there anymore. But it definitely was an issue.
I'm almost wondering if it was a fiber optic thing, and they had to route it somewhere where fiber optic was because But again, a lot changes in 5 years. But I'll ask Brenda.
Okay. Yep. That was all, Sydney, and again, I can touch base with Ryan so he's aware and can kind of look into that a little further with you guys.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. Any other questions, guys? Before I keep scrolling.
On the voicemail, when you would set it up for
Yep.
our work to come to our mobile phone.
Mhm.
So at times, people will call our phones here and they'll just, nobody picks up, so they hang up.
Okay.
And there's no return phone number.
Okay.
It just says like wireless or something.
Okay.
Will that stay the same on our, if, because we, seems like we get a lot of, there's so many departments in the courthouse.
Yeah.
And then there's 5 supervisor phones. Sometimes I think people just push the supervisor's extension and then they don't leave a message or there's no phone number to return them.
So the caller ID just, it just doesn't produce anything.
No. I mean, I think it might, mine the times would just say like wireless or something. and
Yeah.
It doesn't provide a number, which again, I just wondered if that's the way it'll be on our cell phones also in our voicemail box.
I don't know. I haven't seen that. In fact, I can probably,
If they leave a voicemail on mine, and it comes to my email, I get the wireless and then it has the phone number.
that's what I was just gonna pull up my call history. I was just gonna ask me like, maybe you gotta scroll down
But
a
if they
little
don't
bit
leave
or
a
something.
voicemail, then on your phone, yeah, you probably.
Here, it just clicks.
See, like, here's what a missed call from a wireless caller looks like on my Elevate. The phone number, and then it tells me that it's a wireless caller and I missed that call. But,
And they didn't leave a voicemail.
and they did not leave a voicemail in that case, right? Here's my voicemails.
Do we see this on our computer and on our phone?
Correct. Everything that you see here, guys, we can actually do a quick demo.
That's a really good question.
That is a really good question. Everything that you see here is mirrored on your cell phone.
Yeah.
Everything.
If we want it.
If you want to, of course. Yep. You have to download the app and everything. Yep. One of the nice things about this too is transcription of your voicemails as well. So you can play it. It also transcribes it. It also gives you the ability, so when you guys are out, right? It'll forward voicemails to your email automatically, right? If you wanted to. But when you guys are out, say you're going to be on vacation for a week, you can also forward your voicemails to somebody else, right? So I'm going to be gone, so I want the voicemails forwarded to me, but I also want to send them to Rachel, right? That way Rachel can listen to them, and if it's something, that needs to be addressed right away, she'll call them back. You know what I mean? All of those capabilities are there. So this is my text messaging, right? There's Brenda, our lovely Brenda, that I'll have to ask the question to. Oh yeah, actually I can do it right now. 5 years ago, in Osage, the courthouse had issues with, it was long distance calls generating from here, generating from the courthouse outbound
Through our service provider.
through, is it OMU?
OMU.
OMU.
Yeah.
It's one of the capabilities right there. Here's your call history, all your calls, your missed calls. Here is your meeting platform. It's very Microsoft Teams like, right? If you guys are already using Microsoft Teams and you're married to it, or you're in a contract or something of the sort, we could always marry up the Elevate platform with Microsoft Teams.
I don't think they use Teams
I mean,
here.
we have Teams here.
We
I
have-
don't know
we have it
which
on the Outlook.
office
Right.
Sure, yep.
uses Teams. I would use Teams.
I would use Teams.
I use
Yep.
Teams.
I
Yep.
would if there was a, yes, I'm open to it.
Right.
Teams is a wonderful.
This, I would say, is, it's awesome that you love Teams, because you're gonna like this even better.
Yeah, I was just.
Yeah,
gonna
because
say,
it's just like Microsoft Teams. And then if you like gave Microsoft Teams a shot of steroids, right? Because like we have AI
Right.
included in ours, so it will transcribe your entire meeting for you if you want it to. It'll then send that transcription or the notes taken in the meeting to all the participants or the participants that you choose. It's very slick.
So in terms of traceability, that kind of thing, which of course are issues that we would need to always make sure that we're watching.
Yep.
And addressing.
Absolutely.
You know, as far as security.
Yep, it's just as secure, if not more secure than Teams. You can lock the meeting, right? You can do all that stuff. Absolutely. You can encrypt it. There's buttons at the top to do all of that stuff, or you can just have all of your meetings defaulted, right? When I start a meeting, I just want all these things to happen automatically.
Okay.
So
I might say this the wrong way, but
Yeah.
So is this tied to Teams or are they independent of each other?
both. It can be both. So like I said, if you guys aren't, absolutely tied into Microsoft Teams, just use the Elevate platform.
But if we use the Elevate platform, does it also tie it to Teams, or can Teams actually be a separate?
Yep.
Yeah.
It can be separate and this can be separate.
Yes.
They won't intermingle with each other if we don't want them to.
Not if you don't want them to.
Okay.
Yep. But they can. They can. Elevate can also integrate with a lot of your CRM systems.
So is that
Right.
set up, so they can?
Yep.
So
It's
does
not
that-
set up automatically. That's actually a different platform. It's Elevate with Teams. Right
So would
now,
that be
you
an
guys have
additional
been,
charge?
what's that?
Is that an additional charge?
Yes, it's a completely different setup. Yep. So what we're talking about, what we've shown you guys so far is the Elevate Pro platform, which would be exactly what you're speaking of. If you want to use Teams, it's still separate. It's still on its own, right? If you want to use the Elevate platform, it's available to you. You have the meeting platform available to you with up to 100 other recipient or people that are able to join. Participants. Thank you.
Sorry, no, I'm thinking out loud and I do that.
And they don't have to be Elevate customers, right? They get an online link to join your meeting through encryption, right? So you don't have to have all of the people that you're having meetings with go out and buy this platform. It's just, they just get that login information via online if they don't have the Elevate platform. So just like Teams, just like Zoom, if they don't have it, it just, hey, here's a temporary one for you to use.
So you can use it similar to the Zoom meeting type thing.
Yeah.
And so is it your recommendation that if they're not currently using Teams, then we would just jump into the Elevate
Yeah.
platform? Is that what I'm hearing? you
That's what
say?
I would recommend.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we
To
just
keep them
bypass the,
separate.
Yep, to keep them separate.
I'm just thinking.
That's
what
I would recommend.
To intermingle together.
Yeah.
We don't want that extra.
Right.
That's what I would recommend.
and if they're not using it now, then there's no sense in
Right.
backing to that step.
Absolutely.
Okay.
When you
Yep.
say you come in and do each phone system is that charge included in the quote that you sent?
Yes, absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
everything is included.
Everything's included?
Yep.
And I also is your quotes only 30 days good because we're past 30 days?
No, we're fine. I haven't gotten any emails that said, hey, Elevate pricing just drastically changed, right? So nope, we are absolutely fine.
Okay.
In fact, I don't expect that stuff to change for a long time.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I wrote a couple questions down since Sydney brought that up. I want to
Yep.
ask my question. You said know the exact expense. It could be lower, it could be higher. So I'm just wondering what determines lower and higher.
Yep.
Based on your quote that you gave us.
Yep.
Is based on the level of service that we want, and then when do we actually know what the dollar amount is going to be? I think.
Yep.
$5,000.
It's lower here.
It's $4,032.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not quite there, but
When you say
we're gonna get
lower
there.
and higher, I mean,
Number of users.
Number of users. Okay.
Strictly number of users.
Okay.
That's all it is. Because when we had our meetings, we were, we're pretty sure, right? But it's still an estimate, right?
We have 30 down for quantity.
There you go. Yep. So that's what will sway that number.
Okay.
Yep. Number of users, because there's an amount attached to each individual user, right? So if we go up by 2, right, it goes up by X amount, so on and so forth.
All right.
Now you guys, full disclosure, right? I went to my bid desk. I mean, I got you guys specialized pricing, right? So you guys are under what we typically charge for this platform. Being government helps. And then I also went to bid above that as well. We just talked about this, the online meeting video conference. We just talked about that. ShareSync. So this is your file management. It does allow you to have, basically like putting stuff on a server, but you're going to be putting it on the cloud with Elevate. But it's, just like Microsoft Teams has that storage for you. This does as well. Archiving, it comes with 30 days of archiving automatically. And then if you guys need additional archiving on top of that, there's fees that come along with that, but we can archive stuff all the way up to 10 years.
So that might be for, the courthouse, some issue that 30 days might not be sufficient, or.
Yeah, that's different everywhere.
Yeah,
so, yep.
Know what their
current
policy.
Yep, typically it's finance that you run into that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they need it for years. Elevate Extend, this is what I talked about with the integrations with CRM systems, right? So probably doesn't come into play too much into courthouses other than Teams, but Salesforce and NetSuite's a big one. Integrates with that type of stuff. It's your customer account management systems. Everybody knows what Salesforce is, I think, but. And then I do stop here because we talked about this a little bit, but this is going back to, again, you're purchasing the intermedia platform called Elevate from Gordon Flesh Company. So it kind of goes through the company overview again, all of our locations. Now you guys have been using our phone systems for a while on the VoIP side of things, so you're somewhat accustomed to the service that we provide. I'd say on the cloud it's even amped up. Right, because we have a call center, we have all of that stuff on top of the team that resides in Cedar Falls. Here's the personalized client onboarding that I spoke of, right? Where we're on site, we're doing individual users. Everybody is, you're not treated as the courthouse, you're treated as Sydney, right? And all of that, right? So very hands-on when it comes to the installation services. And then here we come to the magical numbers. Right, so the left column, folks, is one-time upfront cost. That's for onboarding. We do have a few equipment charges here because of the resource lines. So the Elevate Pro, we went with 30. Those phones are free. The hardware is no cost, right? These resource lines right here, those are phones that aren't necessarily tied to a specific person, but we need a phone there, right? So conference room, hallway, just those types of phones. We decided on 6, so that's what's included here. 3 fax lines. These 6 phones right here are tied to the resource lines. Those are the ones that we're having to pay for. Somebody wanted a headset. Remember who that was, right?
Yeah, that was Larry.
There you go. Larry wanted a headset. We threw in 3 of the Grand Stream ATAs for the faxing. And then 30 of the Fanville V64. Those are for all of our pro users, right? That's what's included in our cost. So onboarding, that's the programming and paying Brenda to do her job and all of that, right? We got to pay those guys to do their work. Unified Communication Services, that's for porting of your lines, guys. So there is a fee, one-time fee that comes along with it. Equipment, that's the phones and the stuff that we do have to pay for. Shipping of the product from the manufacturers, because Fanville, yeah, intermedia doesn't make the hardware. Phone companies don't make the hardware. Now here's the one thing. We can do this all up front and then do the monthly, or if you guys want me to, I can take this upfront cost and spread it out throughout the monthly, so you don't have to incur that $4,000 up front. I can do that, just so you know. It is an option. It is an option.
So it would be spread out over how many months?
36.
Gotcha.
Yep.
3 years.
Yep, 3-year contracts.
3-year contract.
Yep, 3-year contracts.
So it's a 3-year contract at 4,000 some odd change, and then monthly is 800 and some change.
Exactly. Yep.
And there's no additional fee to split that out by the month?
Nope.
4,000?
No, it's just straight across, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it just takes that, that 3538.33 divided by 36 and tax it on.
Admin.
Yipper. So that's how that works.
So your service people,
Yes.
now, is there a team that's specifically focused on, let's say, the courthouse or, would be focused on us, or so that there would be some familiarity?
Yeah.
Or is it your thought that it's always gonna be, or most of the time, it's gonna be our IT person that's contacting you and working with you, and then he is facilitating the phone system here?
That's a good
How
question.
is that?
So you guys have the massive advantage, right, of currently being our phone customer, right? So Brenda and her team in Cedar Falls knows all the ins and outs of your guys' phone system already. And being in Iowa, we just have that advantage, right? And I speak to it. So yeah, I mean, you guys are going to have the Cedar Falls team is going to be the ones that are going to reside.
Sometimes makes things
Yep.
a little more streamlined.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'll be your quarterback for everything, right? If a question comes up, so we're a pretty big company. I've sold more of the Elevate system than anybody else in Gordon Flush Company. So you're in pretty good hands when it comes to the sales guy that you're working with. When it comes to this stuff, I can answer and help out with a lot of stuff before I even have to ask Brenda. Just because I've sold so much of it and I've experienced so much of it. So, yeah. Any other questions? Oh, also, I wanted to point out, telephony always comes with these fees, right? They don't go away. It doesn't matter who you buy your phone systems from. They're just there. So we have put these in, right? So that you guys know. So that $838.35 that you see, that's the bottom line, right? That's the taxes. That's the telephony fees that come from the government. They actually get their hands in there twice. So we're always very, very good about that. Elevate tells me you can tell everybody with 100% confidence that we will be within 25 cents of what those fees will be. So your bill will be within a quarter of what you see, as long as we don't move users, right? If we move users, then obviously it'll adjust. If we go down, it'll go down. If we go up, it'll go up.
Richard, do you remember by chance, this, maybe you don't, what our current phone charges are per month? A rough guess?
I'm gonna guess like 600.
So that would go away and be replaced with this 800.
If we added all the correct departments into that number.
And is it 3 faxes that we have in the
So
building, or do we have more?
our office has a fax.
Yep.
Larry has a fax, and then public health has a fax. I think it's how we had figured that.
Sounds right.
And
Yep.
I believe secondary roads does have a fax, but for what they use, they fax us like their, like payroll and something else, where they could just be copying that and emailing it to us.
Well, with this new system, it'd be actually even better for them to send it to
Right.
you through the cloud instead of faxing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
So that's where we didn't add
It
one.
would just be
Eliminate-
transporting,
yeah.
it would be eliminating that.
Eliminating a step in their.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to exactly how many fax machines we have now, and would
Yep.
the 3 be going down in number, or do we need, like you say, the other fax?
Well, so what we did on this, Rachel, if you remember, is because we weren't sure, we kept the fax traditional. So we have 3 Grand Stream ATAs included in here. So if we decide we're gonna use the cloud faxing from Elevate, our onboarding will actually go down a little bit because those ATAs are included in this equipment. So that'll drop our cost a little bit on the upfront. You're always gonna have the ability to use this system for faxing. And it's slick. It's like sending an email. And your end users don't know the difference. They have no idea that
That
you
was my
use.
question.
Yep, they have no
Some
idea that you
Say
went a
that it
different
has to
route.
be a fax.
Right. It looks exactly the same to them. It operates exactly the same to them. They have
Okay.
no idea that you actually sent it sitting from your computer like an email.
Right.
Yep. And then receiving faxes can be set up in multiple ways, right? The easiest way that I always tell IT to do it, I don't know, Casey, if you're still listening. He's gone. Is just create a group at the courthouse of people you would like to receive incoming faxes. And then that's who the incoming faxes come to. And then it's pulled up like an email again, right?
Okay.
So pretty slick, pretty slick.
It'll simplify things.
Yep,
Yes.
it will.
Yeah.
So if we want to move to the cloud faxing, which is, we got all the white papers and all that stuff, it's secure, right? That would actually drop our cost a smidgen on the upfront because we wouldn't have to put in those ATAs to keep your faxing traditional.
Okay.
So, and then Rachel, do you know that 600 that you speak of, is that from us, from Avaya? Is that from OMU? OMU. So is that for service and the phone lines? Because the phone lines also go away.
I believe so.
Okay. It's like, if you're not including that also goes away. The phone, what you're paying for each individual phone line. Yeah.
I would say it's a service that they provide,
Yeah.
so we can make a phone call, is what
Yeah.
we're paying for.
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't know, because they're all different, right? Sometimes it's a service piece and
Right.
sometimes
And
it's,
sometimes the
and
other
then
side.
sometimes it's, oh, you guys have, 25 phone lines and it's $12 a line, right? So I don't know what's all included but either way.
Or if there's like separate bills coming one.
Exactly. Sometimes it's that way. Everybody is different with their phone systems. So if you're at the 600, yeah, this would be a little bit higher, but you might actually be paying more than that, depending on what those bills actually look like. And if it's a service piece and a phone line piece, or if it's all included, who knows?
Was this, did we have this 30 phones? Is that what this was?
That's what this was, yeah.
This was?
Yep.
Is this strictly figured on the courthouse?
So that's where we'd have to go and just make sure. I think Ryan gave that number. So it was supposed to, I think, be here. And then there's a few at secondary roads and then public health.
Public health, yep.
Not conservation.
No,
I don't remember conservation.
Okay, so then that goes to the question, this is a 3-year contract, what if we decide to add 10 phones, whatever?
It's really
Is
easy.
it based on this rate that we got quoted here?
It is.
Okay.
Yep, it is. It is. And I don't remember exactly what it was, guys. I'm a pretty transparent guy. I don't remember exactly what it was. Our typical lowest I can get on the Pro is like 2208 with government entities. I believe I was able to get you guys down to like the $16 mark, I believe, if I remember correctly. But that's exactly how that would happen, right? We can add phones.
Surprises as far as, 10 more.
Not at all. Nope, it would just be whatever that rate was per user times 10. We also have the ability, which I don't think will come into play here, but if we needed to reduce, right? Same situation. Start off with 30. Oh, shoot, we only needed 26, right? Okay, we'll take 4 away, and then you simply pay the new incurred rate minus 4 users, right? So very fluid as far as that goes. If we need to make adjustments, those are easy.
Is the contractor agreement, does it specify that? Does it explain that?
I don't know.
You don't need to research it, but I'm just.
I don't know.
wondering in the future.
Yep, I don't know if that's in the T's and C's or not. I'd have to look.
This is Laura with Public Health. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, that's what, I guess you kind of answered the question. I just wanted to make sure Public Health was included in this. That's correct, right?
Yep.
You are correct.
Okay,
Yes.
and then Rachel, I didn't know if that $600 was including ours, because it's about $175 to $200 a month is what we pay for OMU.
I was thinking it was included in there.
Okay,
So we can go back, Renee and I can re-add just to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a tough question for you
Yeah.
to know, I realize.
Yeah,
that.
right off the cuff.
and then one more quick question about the features. So a lot of times our clinical staff have to call patients, and I don't really like them calling from their cell phone and then the patients having their cell phone numbers, because they call a lot. So can they call out from their cell phone looking like it's coming from the office number?
That's exactly how it's set up, Laura.
Perfect.
Yep, that's exactly how it's set up. In fact, they can text message as well from that
Okay,
same
that's great.
phone number. Yep,
And
Yep.
is that HIPAA compliant? Is it secure that if they text?
it is.
Okay.
Yep, we got all the white papers and all that good stuff. I think I already gave those to Ryan, didn't I? I think I did. Yeah, I think Ryan's already got them.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
How about the downtime, if we would go with this, would there be any?
No, so Intermedia's guarantee on their system, right up here, It was one of the things I kind of glazed over, but 99.999% is intermediate, is guaranteed, and it's financially backed up. What that means is if you guys experience anything other than that, they pay you.
I guess my question was through the switch over.
Yeah, the change.
Oh!
Yeah.
I apologize, Tom. Yep, no. So what we're gonna do is, the nice thing about these phone systems, the hardware itself, is that it acts as a bridge with your Ethernet, right? So you don't have to add Ethernet ports, you don't have to do any of that. So we'll use your existing Ethernet ports that are going into your computers, bridge those, right? So we essentially come in and we hook up your new phone next to your old phone, right?
Right.
Train you, make sure you know how to use the new phones, right? And then we unplug the old ones, plug the new ones in. And we're gonna make sure that we're in communication with OMU and, you know, your guys' previous service providers, and have that specific date and time set up with them so that that transition is literally less than minutes. You guys, I mean, our goal is that you don't experience any downtime, right? Which is typically what we end up doing. The transition is seamless. Good
So I'm
question.
assuming then that of those users, you set them up that it'll be this one, then this one, the progression of which phones you start first and,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right, but we won't make the changeover, make
Right.
everything live until everybody is set up and trained.
Gotcha.
Which we usually do a couple days after, right? So we'll install, we'll train. You guys will still continue to use your old phones, right? Because they can,
Okay.
yep, and then we'll make a go live date of, you know, a couple days later. That way we get any questions answered. You guys are pretty up to speed on how the new system works, and yep, we're all ready to go.
You can use one or the other.
Let's go
during
live.
those couple days
Correct.
before they go live.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep, it's kind of on a trial run. And then, of course, what we're going to do before we ever do any of this installation is hopefully we'll be able to do it remotely, but I might have to come back depending on how it's set up. But we're going to test your guys' network for a week to make sure that the network provided and the surrounding area is ample to, you know, hold up to a cloud-based system. And if it's not, everything dissolves into thin air and we don't install. Right? I haven't had that happen yet, but we will not install until we have done a thorough test on your network. And essentially what that is it's a little patch that sits on your guys' network and makes phone calls, right? Basically behind the scenes for 5 days and records all kinds of data throughout those phone calls. Lag time, jitter, all that stuff that you hear about in the cloud-based world, to make sure that you guys are gonna, you know, not experience issues with the system. And we'll do that before we install. And if it doesn't go like we want it to, then we won't install. And you guys will have to stick with the VoIP stuff until network gets better. But I don't see that happening at all. The only time it's ever happened is in Clarksville, and we knew it ahead of time because the phone company said, no, you can't port the number. Oh. Well, I guess we're not going any farther then.
I have a question for you. Are you
Sure.
done, or you got more to do?
Nope, I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Ryan, is that you as far as waiting for name? Is that you that's online? Okay, that's our IT guy.
Yep, I've met Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 30 phones that we have, does that include the sheriff's office? Do you know, Rachel?
Ooh.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't remember the sheriff.
Okay,
They're
so,
completely separate.
They're on a separate system from what I understood.
so that was where I'm going with the question as far as, if this is all internet based and, that's the communication center over there.
Yep.
How that, what other people have done, if they've kept a landline for the facility for emergencies or whatever, but.
Yep.
We're not, this, not the.
But yeah, if we're not included in the sheriff, yeah. Yeah, so you're like your elevator, right? That has to stay analog, right?
Okay.
And yep, all of that stuff. So and we'll figure all of that out with OMU, right? Like what needs to stay, right? The elevator would be one of them.
All right.
That might be it.
Fire alarm.
Nope, Tim, with the dynamite drop in on the fire alarm. Yep, fire alarm. That has to stay analog because of national regulations.
Possible that the elevator company may have switched you over to a cellular.
Yeah, that could be.
Line, because the elevator companies and the fire alarm people are all transitioning people over to a little cellular.
Like module thing.
Yeah, module, because the analog lines, copper lines are all disintegrating and the phone companies don't have to keep them up. So
be.
So everyone that has to have
Yeah.
something, that has to have
Has to work.
communication, they have to.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Good information.
Good question. I'm gonna unplug this baby.
Any more questions?
No.
Well, again, Tim and I apologize for being late. It's my fault.
No, you're fine.
100% my fault. That's what I get for living along the river.
It's probably good to get all the other stuff out of the way, and then you guys can present.
Yeah.
When do you want to know by?
What time is it? You know, honestly, guys, I wish I could lie to you and tell you that I'm a big pressure guy, but I'm just not. But, you know, the sooner the better, because there is some lag time with this, right? It's 6 weeks of turnaround, it's that type of stuff. You know, so.
We meet once a week, so that's why I asked the question.
Right.
So do we pay before you come in, or
No.
so?
You
6
guys
weeks
don't
of
pay us.
getting-
Contract.
You guys don't pay us anything until we're fully done installing, done training, and okay, now we're ready to go live.
Okay.
Yep. The invoices and things will be generated, either on or the day after the go live
Okay.
date. So we do not collect anything up front or need a deposit or anything like that.
Okay.
So, yeah, just let me know if we need to make adjustments on users at all on those numbers. And then if we want to stick with the upfront or we want to spread that out throughout the contract, how do you guys want to do that? That's it.
Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, guys. Very welcome. And again, we apologize for being a little bit late.
Jason?
We'll do better
I
next
hope
time.
your car starts anyway.
Oh, it will. Yeah, it's ran for an hour now, it'll be fine.
So,
We did.
one more on this payment, monthly especially. So have you talked how we do our claims and,
Well, so we pay them with stuff now too, like monthly leases, like the copiers and
yeah,
stuff.
that's right, we're already on board
Yeah.
with that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so
so you're
they
familiar
know.
with how the county pays.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can, because they're all different, right? So we can adjust dates and, you know, whatever needs to be done going on so that we're lined up with you guys. But we don't have any issues now that I know of.
I don't think so.
No, nothing's ever come across my desk anyway. So, yeah, that won't be an issue. Okay,
Thank you.
you're very welcome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Have a good day.
Try and stay warm today.
I'll
You
roll
too.
Also-
Your area.
Meetings attended, do we have any manure management plan updates?
We have two, first class 2952 Fordham 80th Street McIntyre, and Myron 2761 500th Street McIntyre.
Public comment.
Cleared them out.
I'm gonna be the public, one for, so this was today with the phones, just discussion. Are we prepared for, have like Rachel put it on for next week? Or do you guys want time to think about it, or?
I don't think have Ryan gotten back to any of us about anyone else we're looking into, or, you know, that was another one we were waiting on.
That would be my question is, you know, with the challenges that they've been having at the sheriff's department, is this something that we need to be looking at over there? You know,
And I don't,
and I
that's a very
don't
good
know
question.
what those,
And I don't know how
issues
that
are.
system's set up. I would think though that they can't be strictly, internet-based. They would have to have some sort of landline for, internet goes down, you still need to
Right.
go to the comm center.
right,
So those would be questions that have to be figured out.
which is, you know, like he's saying, is here too, that there needs to be an analog line, I would imagine.
Did you guys happen to, Greg sent us an email on what's been going on over there. So, I mean, he just got started and looks like he's got quite a few items already
Right
taken
enough.
care of.
Oh,
But there's still some that are unresolved yet.
The individual that resolved a lot of those issues, that might, what we're just discussing now might be a very good question for him to, that's why I wondered who this individual was that's on here, if it was Ryan or not. Ryan was not here today, so the individual that did some of those, resolved some of that, some of these questions that we're having right now might be asked of him as far as just how is the jail set up?
Yeah.
How, what would you recommend that needs to be done there? I would like to have been asked that, asked those questions to Ryan this morning, but he's not available, so maybe we should touch base with the person that was here today.
Yeah, so we'll have to, I don't think we have any other quotes. I haven't seen anything come across my desk. Anyone else?
so we just need to clarify exactly what we are currently paying, all inclusive, for the public health and the courthouse, if I'm not mistaken, if we can get that number for sure, so we know what the increase would be. And then what the status is of the sheriff's department. I do have a meeting with Ryan on Friday and Joel Roney, so those might be some questions I can include in my conversation there.
Perfect.
And that's, I guess all I've got to add to that.
And I think with some of the discussion, that what he's added for us, I'm definitely pretty naive, but I'm willing to, I really like the idea of receiving these calls on my cell phone and not, my number's not going out or getting the emails. So it's, some of that is gonna be added cost to what we now have, if we're gonna upgrade a little to some of this. But I kind of like the additional things that we'll be able to do.
We'll want to know this before we decide our budget gets finalized. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer that
Yeah,
we need to. know
we
what
need
we're
to,
gonna do.
well, and the fact that, he's talking 6 to 8 weeks, before everything can get here, so we want to plan ahead and not, I would imagine, sit on it too long, so that.
If we want it on next week, we put it on next week.
And I think we probably should, and when I see Ryan, I'll ask him if he's received any or reached out to anybody else. But I would put it discussion and possible action, and if we're not
ready,
comfortable,
We'll just table
we'll
it.
just table
There
it.
you go.
Sounds good to me. Any other public comments? No? All right, we will adjourn the meeting at 9:53.